both are going.
All set?
Yep.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 1st regular meeting of the Village Board of East Aurora. If we start, anyone who is able to stand and would like to join, please join for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next up, roll call.
Trustee Lizikas. Trustee Cameron.
Here.
Trustee Bujanowski.
Here.
Trustee Camp.
Here.
Trustee Raby.
Here.
Trustee Root.
Here.
Mayor Wachinski.
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Next up is a public hearing to consider a local law to extend the moratorium on unnecessary tree trimming in the village. Anybody who would like to speak on this issue, please come up to the microphone now, state your name, address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm Michelle Biella, 370 South Park Place, East Aurora. I don't know what the current status is, but I wanted to voice that if things are still unsettled with the code or the law, that I could see a moratorium continuing. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Michelle. Anybody else? Okay, we will close that public hearing at 7:04. Move on to our next item, speakers and communications. Anyone in the audience is, if you have any comments on any issue on the agenda today, please come forward and let us know your thoughts. Again, name, address, and please limit to 3 minutes, no more than 3 minutes. Okay, seeing no one. We will move on to consent considerations. Here, I would like to say that I would like to pull out the Hamlin Park temporary use permit for Kevin Beers of Revive Wesleyan Church for Church in the Park. The event is not until August. I don't see any issue with it, but I know from campaigning that there were some thoughts of how that could be improved. I don't know if that's anything that we would. I just like some time, and I just saw it for the first time today. So we'll take that out and put that into new business.
Okay.
Actually, we don't have to even put it on the agenda, do we? We don't
You
need
don't
to
have to
table
do,
it.
you don't
No.
have to do anything if you don't make a
Yep.
motion.
So let's just leave that off the agenda, and we'll return to that 2 weeks from now. Other than that, we have approval of minutes, approval of the payment, one new member of the East Aurora Fire Department. Thank you, Mr. Eccleston. Permission for the mayor or his designee to sign the renewal for the village EAP insurance with ESI. Set a public hearing for a special use permit for the application for 635 Main Street, Valvoline Instant Oil Change. And then award the auction sale amounts from Auctions International to get rid of 3 vehicles and 1 sidewalk plow. Anyone like to remove any of those issues? Nope. Moving on then, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Cameron, can I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Kemp. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? And that carries. Next up, under official considerations, we have the approval of a local law to extend the moratorium on unnecessary tree trimming in the village. So an update on our side. We did get a signed version back from NYSEG. That version did not include the tree trim box, which was important. There were some other elements that were not included as well, so we do not feel comfortable signing that and returning it to them. So we would like to extend this moratorium, which prevents basically NYSEG and the utilities from being able to do any further trim work. I think we had an agreement when we met. I think their attorneys got to it and really cut it back, and I think we need to go back to the negotiations.
Can you say more about what the tree trim box is that you were hoping was in there?
Yeah, so The tree trim box is what they're permitted to trim around.
Just the dimensions around the utility.
Yeah,
I
Got
think it
it.
was proposed like, what, 10 feet it
10,
was?
10, 15, yeah.
Got it.
So, I mean, this is a big issue, and we don't want to be,
That's the core issue, really. They need to be able to maintain them, but
yeah, they did have a reference to to New York State trim box, but that can change at any time, and
Well, we know from work that Nancy Smith and others have done that there are municipalities around New York State that have a smaller trim box.
Set their own. Yep.
great. Then yes, agreed.
and they agreed to it, so. And they sent it back to us without telling us what the changes were, so we got work to do. Okay, any other comments?
Looks like that moratorium's for another 180 days. If we're that far apart and we need to fight about the trim box again, that totally makes sense, but just want to make sure that that's what we're doing on purpose.
Yeah, I think we need to start working on the local law. If we're not going to be able to come to an agreement, we'll proceed with the law. I think it's better to have an agreement,
Yeah,
but if we can't get there with them, then we'll have to pass the local law by that time.
sure.
Kevin needs some work. All right. With that, this is a roll call vote, but first I need a motion to approve the local law to extend the moratorium on unnecessary tree trimming in the village.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Bojanowski. Can I have a second?
No, second.
Second by deputy mayor Root. This is a roll call.
Trustee Cameron,
Aye.
trustee Bojanowski,
Aye.
trustee Camp,
Aye.
trustee Raby,
Aye.
trustee Root,
Aye.
Mayor Wojcinski.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. There is nothing in old business, so moving on to new business. I think I'll come down. We have a couple of things that have been proposed, and I've got a couple of thoughts here so we can make sure we're on the same page. I will come down so I can see it because the screen is behind me. It'll only take me 15 minutes to get down. Is it a microphone reader or no? I think I've got it in here. All right. Do you mind if I move the 3 gallons of water? I know, good. Good for you. Okay, so we have a couple of items on the agenda. They're all somewhat related, so I wanted to give thoughts as to what that is and the path that I'm looking to move forward on. This is just the first of many items to come that are a part of what it is that we're trying to do in the village office. So this is, if I can switch the page here. Yeah, you could be on my page, so that'd be great, thanks, yeah. All right, so the first thing is the purpose behind all of these proposals, and it is really what we're trying to preserve here in East Aurora. And it's my opinion that we need to be proactive about preserving what we have and preparing for the future. And I think that we have a lot of great assets in the community that we can do a better job to protect. So what are some of the things that we want to protect, in my opinion? Historic character, walkable and bikeable neighborhoods, local businesses, tree-lined streets, parks and open spaces, and our community identity. And I think, we've done a very good job in our history in East Aurora of being able to preserve a lot of the things that we're doing, but it doesn't just happen by accident. It requires a lot of planning, partnerships, community engagement, and investment, and there's been a lot of people who have been actively doing that for the village, and that's commendable. But we have a bit of a new chapter here. I mean, things change rapidly now. I guess maybe someone would say that in the 60s and 70s as well. I view it as our responsibility on this board not simply to manage the issues that we're facing today, but also to ensure that future generations inherit this village as we inherited it. That means beautiful, walkable, historic, and economically vibrant, environmentally sustainable, and financially resilient. I think a good picture there of the bike bus is something where, you know, all of these elements, this is something new, but it meets our community character. And how do we get there? I think the elements of good municipal government are to listen, plan, prioritize, and implement. We listen by getting community engagement for our decisions, not existing in a silo. We set those in a plan by having long-term visions and being able to properly understand where we're going and how we can get there. We prioritize the resources that we have by understanding the community's goals and ranking. And then we implement by finding ways to implement partners, funding, projects. That's through our budget, trying to find ways to do that. But in order to do that, we really have to have those first three elements really shore up, and that helps us to move forward. The most important key in this is a comprehensive plan. That's our roadmap for the future. And again, it's not about change. It's about planning so that we can preserve the things that we like. So a little bit about what a comprehensive plan is, because we talk about that, and we sometimes, you know, put a lot of things into it, but it is an important document for any municipality, any village especially. So it establishes long-term community vision. It reflects residents' priorities. It guides our future decisions. It supports grant applications, creates accountability, and it helps future boards make consistent decisions. It's something that really belongs to the community. Okay, we can go to the next one. Yep. New York State is very clear on what it requires in a comprehensive plan. Village law recognizes that local governments make the most important decisions affecting the future of their communities because we are the closest to them. Recognize that villages have a responsibility to protect public health, safety, and general welfare. Again, we talk over and over and over again about the one side, you having the ability to do on your own property what you want to versus the community's ability to develop and grow as a community the way that the community would like to. And this is a great way to understand what that is. A publicly available comprehensive plan is in the best interest of the village residents in the law. Citizen participation is essential to the planning process, and planning promotes cooperation among municipalities and other government agencies. But you can't get that without the participation of the citizens behind it. So it needs to be community developed, and it can't be coming from a top down. It has to really be an inclusive process. So why it matters? Well, under New York State village law, land use regulations must be consistent with your comprehensive plan. Future zoning decisions should be guided by the comprehensive plan. And capital projects by other government agencies must take the comprehensive plan into consideration. So in practice, what it helps us do is understand our housing and development, control or target where we would like more housing, what type, our parks and open space, our historic preservation, our walkability and transportation, our investments into infrastructure, our economic development, our grant opportunities, and our sustainability and environmental stewardship. Yeah, next one. Why now? I think everyone here and the board knows, and probably in the community as well, that our last comprehensive plan was a regional comprehensive plan that was between 2002 and 2004. I think this is a great picture, by the way, two pictures to show why this is important. Because the first reaction I think you have to those two pictures is, wow, look at how similar that is. And it is. And that's the part of the preservation. But at the same time, there are obviously noticeable differences. We have a road, we have crosswalks, we have vehicle parking, we have street lights, right? And those are the parts that we develop together as a community, but preserve what it is we like. It's obvious on Main Street, but it's not obvious in other parts of the community. As we move forward, there are going to be changes, but we need to preserve what it is that we see in that image. One good example is the globe that's to the left of both of the images, which is currently in not a great state of repair, a major building that we're going to need to work for to be able to save, in my opinion, unless we get some angel investor or someone to come in. Those are the types of things that we want to get community input on. And a few notes here. The community priorities have evolved since 2002. The world has evolved. Infrastructure needs have changed. The way that grants are given has changed. Housing challenges have increased in our community. Walkability and mobility, I think, are greater priorities. We'll see that in the community feedback. And climate resilience and stewardship are more important now than ever. So onto this slide, yeah. Thanks. So I put together a document that I send to the board and is available in the materials, because our next steps in this is to, nope, go back. Go back one. Because what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're on the same page from the very start of this whole process. We want to make sure that we are guiding the community the best that we can and guiding the consultants that we hire to make a comprehensive plan. The community is a good partner. They have committed to funding our comprehensive plan, most of the funding, 90%. That would be taking the funds from the feasibility study for Girard and moving it to do this comprehensive plan. The elements that I have in the document that I shared, which I'd like to get the board's opinion on, would be then sent to all of our committees, to staff, so that we can get to the community, so we can get input right from the very beginning before we even our RFP, so that we get the right consultant that knows the priorities of our community. Those are all the things. I'm not going to repeat them because I've said them a couple of times, but those are the elements that are in that document that I wrote. Go on to the next one. So with your opinions, I think we need to get the thoughts of our boards and committees. I did send it to the planning board because their meeting is tomorrow. Our staff, external organizations, the town of Aurora, Erie County, surrounding communities, and also via non-traditional channels if we can get some input from the community on this. I think, I have the luxury of having done this once with the town of Aurora. I think we have a really, really good comprehensive plan in our town, but there were some bumps along the way, and I do think that spending this month to get buy-in to our RFP before we start, it's going to start out right, and we all need to take a part in that. So before we open up discussion, the next proposal is parks and open space, sort of planning for the place that bring us together. This is a component of the comprehensive plan. We have some great assets, including Hamlin Park, the Casanova Creek Sanctuary, sinking ponds, other open spaces, and potential open spaces. I do think that we have to have the need for long-term planning, community engagement, grant readiness, and village-wide perspective, and a connection to that comprehensive plan as we move along. And so I see this committee as being something that can funnel in the thoughts of our community with a concentration on our parks and open spaces. What I think that would be is an advisory committee. We had one that was somewhat similar. We actually had two, the Casanova Creek Committee, which hasn't met in quite a bit of time, but also the Hamlin Park Committee, which does not have minutes or agendas or things like that. I think we need to take that and turn it into a formal committee just like the others, with public meetings, minutes, community representation. They can provide support for grants, focus on accessibility, and then participating in that comprehensive plan. Next. Why a new approach to the parks? Well, I think that, again, needs to be a formal advisory committee. We need a village-wide perspective, so we need to think of all of the different areas where we want to get that input. I think including things like the school, the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary, Kiwanis, all of that is important to understanding where our parks and our park system should be going. I think we need broader community participation, and I do think that we need to think about integrating with the comprehensive plan. My proposed purpose is in the document that I sent, that's in the materials for the meeting. Planning and improvements, preservation of additional open space, environmental stewardship, accessibility and ADA compliance, grant opportunities, long-term capital planning, and then the comprehensive plan. And the proposed structure Obviously, open a conversation on this. I think we need 5 village residents. They would be supported by a lot of other people, including a town representative, as we have 2 parks that are in the village that are town parks. And then, of course, it would be an advisory role only. Third thing that I've got is supporting local businesses, strengthening the economic vitality of East Aurora. One of the things that also we spoke about in the last couple of months was trying to improve our communication with our small businesses. We know that it's a major part of our community and the Main Street and a lot of the parts that we love about East Aurora. I think we can have a task force that is focusing on supporting them however we can, strengthening tourism, identifying opportunities where we can find grants or make improvements, and then positioning East Aurora for future investments. So all those things would be a part of what that committee would do. Just some notes on that committee. We've spoken with the Chamber of Commerce with Victoria. She's happy to participate in that. I think my proposal was to have a couple of business owners. It's going to be difficult to have village residents, but something we really should have are village residents that are business owners, but we want to have the participation of non-village residents as well, so we need to think about the composition of that task force. But Victoria is happy to have that and also serve in an advisory role to that committee. Last but not least, the Greater Aurora Development Corporation. This really is, if you want to go to the next one, a local development corporation that has been around for a very long time, it turns out. There is a Greater East Aurora Development Corporation, a Greater Aurora, and we actually found some documents that go back to the 1970s on this, I think, Chelsea, right?
Yep.
So it's something that's not new, but a lot has changed from when it founded. It is a local development corporation, which is a nonprofit organization that advances public purposes and community development. It supports PPPs, grants and funding opportunities. It can take donations. It can work on community improvement projects. It can work on economic development initiatives, and it can be strategic long-term with various investments. Most communities that you think about that are similar to East Aurora have very active LDCs. Some of them are used more to attract jobs on the county level. That's a lot of what they do. But locally, a lot of it is just working on various projects that help the community that the village government can't do, but can use this partner for. So why do we need this tool to be active? I think we need it in order to be able to tap into additional funding sources. I think we need it in order to help administer certain grants. I think we need it for historic preservation projects, for acquiring properties and not having it on the village's balance sheet, for working on those properties, for being able to hire people and do things differently, for some of our other initiatives like parks and open space and beautification and holiday decorations and all of it. This would be a great partner where we can help pool community funds and use it, combining private and public funds for the better good. Last but not least, of course, economic development in downtown. I use the word revitalization. I don't know if that's applicable to us, but that's the state term, and that's what I'm going to use because that's where the grant money is. Okay, next. How would it support East Aurora? I think all those elements that I had just said are a part of this. The GADC, of course, does not determine the village's priorities. It just provides an additional tool to help us implement them. Go to the next one. We've reviewed the GADC. Several governance and compliance matters were identified. The governance documents are antiquated and require updating. That's the Articles of Incorporation and bylaws. State and federal filings must be addressed. They have not been filed for many, many years. Insurance and indemnification should be reviewed if we have it. If we don't, then we need to target it, and we need to find our financial records and accounts and reconcile them from the last periods when that hasn't happened. All that is something that we're working on, and it does take resources, and it's not village resources. So we need to really get to work on that because we do need this to pursue some of the projects that we're looking to. The proposed governance structure is what it is now, similar in how I believe it has functioned when it did function, but is not exactly the way it is in the documents. The mayor is de facto the chairperson of the GADC. 2 trustees are on that board. There is a president, and there are 3 additional community members. It's important that it is not the village board, that is the GADC. It must be a separate entity. Otherwise, we commingle, and we don't want to do that from a legal point of view. But that 7-member board, it seems to be fairly standard for the way that they operate, and I think how it had operated in the past. This would give us balanced representation. We could bring in a sufficient amount of community expertise. We can remain compliant with the state's requirements, and we can also have some communication, and I don't want to say control, but back and forth with the village government. So with this, I've been working with Eric Carlson, who is in the audience. He is a village resident, nonprofit executive, and a volunteer. He conducted a review of the governance documents. Kevin looked at them as well. And the compliance documents, did this pro bono. I would like to propose Eric as the president of the GADC, and we're grateful for his time. He's put a lot of work into trying to get this up and running. Go to the next slide. The recommended actions are to approve the bylaws in the new version that was sent to the board earlier last week, to approve the certificate of amendment, to align it with the certificate of incorporation, to appoint directors, at this point 2 trustees, Eric as the president, sorry, that's a misprint. And then I would also recommend Councilmember McCann as someone to bring the town in. Then that would leave 2 future appointments, but we really got to get moving on this for a number of different projects we're working on. And then authorize the reconstitution of this board and move forward. And I think this gives us what the state and the Department of State in New York State is looking for, which is a bit of a clean cut with the practices of the past and be able to move forward as a new, so that we can bring it into compliance without the historic issues. All of this put together, and we can open it up to the board, is here so that we can continue to build the village government that I think our community wants and deserves, involving planning, community input, and using the great assets we have here, both people and resources in the village of East Aurora, to be able to move forward. Whether it's applying for grants, having these things in place helps us, or if it's doing putting the flowers up on Main Street, this helps us. It helps us to understand what the community wants and to have backing so that we're not listening to a loud minority when maybe the majority feels differently. And I feel very strongly about this and other initiatives to come, such as the Climate Smart Community Task Force and other things, that this is really the village government that I would like to see. I think it creates vision, and it turns some of the things that we want to do into a reality, being able to use resources that we have. So, why it matters, I think I've already said that. And then discussion and board action. I don't think there's too much we have to do tonight, but I'd like to get your opinions on advancing the comprehensive plan throughout this month so we can get a better RFP. I'd like to establish the Parks and Open Space Committee, so get your understanding on that and issues, and then we'll be able to put a resolution together for the next meeting. Establishing our task force, the sort of composition of that, and get everybody on the same page for that. And then I would like to take actions on the GADC, because again, that takes time and filings, and we need that up and running for our DRI grant application, so it's going to be tight. So that's my thoughts. As much as I love to hear myself think, I think we can pass it over to members of the board. You've had the materials. I hope you had a chance to look at them over the week or so, and happy to hear your thoughts. You don't have to wait for me to talk.
Reviewing all this information, the GADC, the comprehensive plan, and the small business task force, it's hard to believe that we've been operating efficiently or been doing all of these things without those 3 units. So I'm excited to see how they develop. I'm all for them. In reviewing, I didn't really have any concerns, just support on my end.
Thanks.
For the GADC, in terms of the other directors, would you prefer it to be mainly village residents? Because I know Joe is part of the town. There would be 4 already, if Eric, the 2 trustees and you, then that would already be 4 village residents. Would you want more town input, or would you want it to just be more village? Or does it not matter? It's kind of just like based off of qualifications of the people that we have around us.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. I think, bringing Eric on is because of his nonprofit experience is a great asset for us. It is a separate entity, so it can be non-village. It is called the Greater Aurora, Greater East Aurora, depending on where you look, Development Corporation. So I think we can look into that. I don't have any say one way or the other. I mean, we have these artificial lines that separate us, and the law wants our committees to be village residents. We are paying taxes, but this is a bit of a different thing. So open to suggestions on that.
Yeah, because then that just definitely helps widen the amount of people that we could propose that might be interested in such a
Yeah.
endeavor.
And I've said this at meetings prior, one of the key issues is that I think could be a quick win here, the shipping building at the Roycroft. There are more opportunities for us to play a role in getting that to remain a historic building in the community. I think this gives us additional tools to be able to do that. But if we start before we get it into compliance, it's doomed from the very beginning. So we got a lot of work with the Department of State to make sure that we get that clearance before we go ahead.
I was just going to say the same thing. Supportive, really would echo exactly what Chelsea said. Can you give us a little bit more information on the urgency behind this? You touched on these a little bit in the presentation, and also on, I think you mentioned the Department of State filing regulations and their desire to see more of a clean break from administrations who had done this. Those are the 2 points you touched on that I'd love to hear a little more detail on.
Yeah, and we can invite Eric to come up and talk as well, if we're moving to the GADC and the other points. The urgency is that I've been discussing with the governor's office and the Western New York Economic Development Council the possibilities of us supporting our village and businesses and nonprofits with either New York Forward Grant or Downtown Revitalization Initiative Grant, DRI. The application for that is due in September or October, which seems like a lot of time, but it really isn't. One of the projects that I think would be key to that, if we can put it together, is to find a solution for the Globe. We are not able to purchase that by soliciting, we're not able to solicit the funds we would need to purchase that. However, this entity would be able to do so. So I think that having this strengthens our application for those. And we have already started talking to businesses and reaching out to try to get the projects and have that input, which it's going to have to happen throughout the fall. But this would be a key part to help us do at least that project and probably some others. I know Jeff loves the flowers that we have on Main Street, but another example would be you'd be able to pool together funds from businesses that want to contribute, that you could then use to actually give to the DPW to have more that you could put up. Be a jungle out there. holiday decorations, things like that. That's not as urgent. What really is urgent is getting it together for these sort of two projects. One is a building that's crumbling, and the other one is one that's probably not that far away as a part of the application, so.
Thank you.
And we want to get, Eric, do you want to come up and talk about the specific actions that we're thinking about here for today?
Yeah, so the first thing is, in terms of coming into,
You got to use the microphone because we're online. Yeah.
should I say?
You can take it out.
So the first thing, every nonprofit has to file a federal Form 990 every year. That's the basic nonprofit tax form, and then the state Char 500 form, and that has not been done in several years. So before we do anything, we have to bring ourselves into compliance. I don't know how many years we have to go back and sort of try to piece things together. Hopefully not too far, but we at least we'll have to develop the last one, and that's going to take some work. We also don't know exactly where our bank account is, although I think either Steve or Kristen, one of you mentioned a few weeks ago that you thought there might be a few tens of thousands of dollars.
That was me.
Okay. Do you know the bank?
I definitely don't.
Okay.
I wasn't really involved in the financial side of it, but
I'm happy to, there are half a dozen banks in town. I'm happy to give them a call once, we can sort of reconstitute this thing. But that's sort of step one. Step two is beginning to align with the grant application needs, some of the goals with, there's Girard, there's the Globe, there's the shipping building, there are just a whole lot of things that where this can play a role. And then lastly, one of the things when I think about an LDC, it can really help sort of turbocharge the village's goals because it can access private capitals, because it could charge rent, because it could, you could see a scenario where it buys the Globe, grant funding helps repair it. It then in some way rents out for a while, and then it sells, and the LDC is onto the next big priority because the Globe is now taken care of. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So having not the 990 not filed, is that going to pose a issue down the road once we start filing it? Or is it just that there's a period of time where we just weren't, and now we're just turning a new leaf?
No, I think once we file it, we're fine. We don't have to wait for their response to our filing.
Okay.
And the budget's never been that big. We may be able to get along with a 990, the EZ form, because our budget would have been so low for a few years. So it's got to be sort of bylaws and this certificate of amendment into banking, into the bank account, into the two tax forms, and then we're off and running. I got my summer cut out for me.
One of the things, too, is that in order to create one of these, it actually has to be approved by the New York State Legislature, and then either, ratified by the governor or overriding a veto. So this process is a little bit difficult, but I think that one creating a new one would be even more difficult, especially because you have this sort of old one hanging out there.
Yeah, and with the September deadline for the application, when the legislature's out of session,
Yeah.
it would avoid that.
And why, right? You have one
For sure,
that's out there.
for sure.
And Kevin, thank you for your notes. Those were really helpful.
Yes, we also have a village attorney who serves on 2 boards of these, so we will definitely be, what's the term?
Tag your
Abusing? No, that's not the word. I don't know why that word came into my...
Stealing time, I think is what they call it, yeah. Anything else?
No, thank you.
I think it's exciting. I think all this is exciting, and who knows, it may not come to anything, but the tool is there, and I think we want to at least explore using it.
I think the other big change worth highlighting, not necessarily separate from the GADC, is formalizing the Hammond Park Committee. I know that's part of the open spaces plan, but just bears putting a fine point on. I think that we heard so much feedback about Hamlin Park from nearby residents, from village residents who care about it as much as we do. I think that committee served its purpose in terms of gathering feedback, but I do think formalizing it, creating it as an official advisory committee, formalizing minutes, requiring minutes and officers and things of that nature, I think will bolster that committee's ability to advance the agenda of Hamlin Park, or advance the agenda of the residents and neighbors with respect to Hamlin Park.
Yeah, I don't want to, I mean, obviously it was very useful and great that we have it, and thankful to everybody that's been on it. It could be the same people moving forward. But I think that what we want to do is just change it to have a slightly different purpose so we can really use it for the reasons that we want to use it. Number one is to feed into that comprehensive plan. Number two is to be able to access, some of the larger grants that are out there to help with those improvements. And number three, to think about targeting other areas in the village where we may be able to create new parks or open space. So it's number one, changing the purpose of it slightly, because I think that the up to this point it has been to implement the Hamlin Park Master Plan, but for example, a new playground is not a part of the Hamlin Park Master Plan that was already there. And so the committee, I think, would be limited into how you can pursue that because, you didn't get the community input to say that specific item. So it's changing that direction from implementing what was in that master plan to now thinking more, taking a step back, more planning, and then also combining it with the Cazenovia and also expanding it to include sinking ponds and these other places and potential new ones, so.
So I think, I don't remember, Maureen, do you remember, were those committees originally combined before the Hamlin Park one spun off?
No,
Okay.
we were separate. But it had been talked about a number of times to put them together, because,
Yeah.
especially because the CAS committee hasn't really met since I've been around.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember that there had been conversation at one point. I couldn't remember if we had split it or if they were always separate.
No, it was
But I know that there was some concern, there were some folks who were, one in particular who was very passionate about sinking ponds, and the neighbors of Hamlin Park that really cared about Hamlin Park but weren't necessarily as passionate about sinking ponds. So as long as we still get those perspectives, right, from the neighbors, from the people with real solid environmental knowledge for stuff like sinking ponds, make sure that we're maintaining all that stuff. I'm fine with it. I just want to make sure we're not losing that connection to the neighbors.
Yeah. And I think, again, that there's nothing on the agenda that I'm proposing here for tonight, just that we would want to formalize that by the next time we have the meeting and get all those thoughts and make sure we're not forgetting anybody.
Yeah.
Because we only had the two committees. We didn't have a sinking ponds really committee. Orlando did work and he took the pictures.
He did, and I know Marcia was working with him as sort of a liaison, but I don't remember if they had a formal committee or if they just met. Was it just the two of them?
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, so if all that stuff can be combined, if we've got some people who are really interested in open space in general,
Yeah.
and just make sure we still have a forum for neighbors to speak and everything, then I think we're in good shape.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think, great plan, really excited about the updating for the comprehensive plan, all that stuff. JDC for sure, getting that back in compliance. I don't remember whether I'd actually forwarded to you or just told you about some emails that I had.
Yeah. You forwarded the
Frustration.
documents, I know, but yeah. No,
Yeah, glad to see all that done. And the Small Business Task Force, I think, is a great idea, so.
Yeah, and on that, I would want, there's a lot of different competing groups out there that we want to try to pull together here. And Chelsea and I met with, like I said, Victoria from the Chamber of Commerce, and she was very, very supportive of this, saying, yes, we need to have that connection with the village government, and this is going to be a great vehicle to do that.
Sure.
I think there was an article in the Times about the changing role of chambers of commerce and how they're struggling to find what that role is. And one of the main points of that article was the ones that are successful have a connection to their government are able to facilitate those conversations. So I think this is good for the chamber as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good move forward. I'm concerned about the urgency, just so hope we do that right. But
Just on the GADC.
I'm encouraged by the conversation.
All right, any other thoughts? Okay. So with that, I think we've got a couple of motions then. And I left my presentation down there that had the motions on it. I'd like to move that Jeff brings me the presentation. All right. So if we're okay with this, we've got three different motions here. First one would be to approve the bylaws in the form that was sent and in the materials for the meeting. Approve the certificate of amendment in the form that was provided for the meeting. And then appoint directors. We could do, I think even at this point, we could do the two trustees and me and Eric. We don't have to talk about Joe. We can get him later if we want to, for sure. So maybe that's what we'll do. And that'll give us enough so that we can get it started and constitute meetings, and then leave open then 4 other positions that the board can have more input on who that would be, and try to find people who have the skills needed to move this forward. So starting with, can we have a motion to approve the bylaws?
Hang on a sec, where are the bylaws?
I sent in an email. They were not in the public materials. It's not a village thing, but
And this is just the bylaws for the GADC.
GADC. The amended bylaws.
This one?
Well, it's so moved.
Yeah.
Motion by trustee Bojanowski, second.
I'll second.
Second by trustee Kemp. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that carries. Second is to approve the certificate of amendment. Motion to approve the certificate of amendment.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Kemp, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Cameron. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, last is the directors, so I would do this one by one maybe, to appoint Eric Carlson as the president of the GADC for a term of 1 year.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Motion by trustee Kemp, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Bojanowski. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
What's the term, please?
1 year.
Yeah, but what's the year? Our fiscal year, something, a calendar year?
I think it would be a year from the appointment.
1 year from the
1
appointment?
year from the appointment, yeah. And then, we could also do a term just to get this going, to make everybody more comfortable. I would like to have trustee Camp and deputy mayor Root, because they've been involved in this, but we can appoint this for a 6-month term if we want to, and then get it going and see how it's going, and then we'll get back to the drawing board. Does that sound fair?
I'm fine with whatever.
Yeah. And then we can see where we want to take it and who wants to be involved in that as we go. Motion then to appoint Deputy Mayor Root and Trustee Camp to the GADC as directors on behalf of the village board.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Bojanowski, second.
Second.
Second by Trustee Cameron. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Okay, with that, speakers and communications. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak on any issue that they would like to speak to the village board about. So if you have anything, come forward. Again, state your name, address, and please keep it limited to 3 minutes.
My name is Bob Gibson, and I live at Stonegate. And we came here, we thought that the Hammond Park temporary permit was on there, and we might have missed something earlier, but you said in 2 weeks it would be discussed again, and should we prepare anything for that?
Yep, so what we'll do, I'll reach out to, we have contact information, I'm sure, for Mr. Beers? Yep, that's
he's here.
you, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll reach out to you. What I would like to do is we'll put it on social media that this is up. allow the community to give their input. We'll also text and email to the residents that have signed up for our code red alert system in that neighborhood. If we don't receive any feedback, then we don't get any, but we just want to make sure we get any thoughts of the neighbors, if there's been anything. I know there were some issues in the past, and I think they were all solved, but there's really no issue on it. I don't see any issue with it moving forward, but I think the right way to do this is to allow there to be public input, and then we'll go from there.
Great, thank you.
So you can feel free to reach out to me as well. It's just mayor@eastaurora.gov, and we can set up a time. But I think really what we'll do is we'll just get it out there to the community, give some time. If there are nothing there, then we may not even have to meet.
Okay. And so we'll talk within the 2 weeks?
So we'll speak at some time before the next meeting so that we've got any issues that there are, we'll at least have a response and have the time to talk about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a good thing, a good use of the park. We just, again, I just seen it, and so I want to at least give that time. There may be no one that responds, but the worst thing for me is when they say, well, I didn't know about it. And I want to be able to say, well, we texted, emailed, put it on social media, tried to reach out as much as possible. Sorry, right?
We sure want to know it too.
Yep.
We don't want to be offensive to anyone in any way.
Yep. It would be very surprising if you said something differently, so. Yeah. I mean, I live there very closely. I don't have any issue, obviously, but I'm not as close as some other residents, so.
Thank you.
Earlier this week, we were dealing with a potential topless event at the park, so it really is quite varied how we're using our park.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Root thought I was kidding, and I had to show the email.
I still think you're kind of kidding.
It's all over Facebook.
It's moved, it's not.
I know.
Thanks to the work of our police department, de-escalating. All right, anyone else? Okay, with that, we'll move on to the department head report. We'll start with Foreman Stoll, who has fallen asleep.
All right, so last meeting I was out of town. I was at the Rural Water Association conference. Had a lot of training, met a lot of vendors and superintendents all around the state. It was a good 3 days of training. This past week 2 weeks, we've been working at Hamlin Park, stump grinding, topsoiling, hydro seeding, all those spots. It's been a lot of work. We've been having difficulties getting topsoil lately. They actually cut us off this past week, so we're waiting on more topsoil. We also have been hot patching, and we got the crosswalk at the Boys and Girls Club striped Friday. That was the first one we did. So working on South Grove. We did with South Grove as well by the Roycroft, and we'll continue by like Fisher Price, Olean Road, Seneca Street. Next week, we will be milling. So we're going to be milling Girard Avenue, Church Street, Boys Alley, Gray Street, and Crescent. I will have a finalized date, hopefully by tomorrow from Suco, but it could change the day before. So we don't really know the exact date, but we're looking at Wednesday and Thursday.
Milling and filling.
Just milling.
Just milling.
Then we...
Goes right back in?
No, we don't do the mill and fill.
Okay, so you mill and...
We mill, then we prep all the roads, and then we pave.
Okay.
So we're hoping to pave by the last week of June. I'd like to get everything done by the 3rd of July, so. I will put all that stuff on Facebook once I get the date from Sucoat. I'll talk to them tomorrow. We'll also, once we get topsoil, we're gonna continue topsoil and hydro seeding around plow damage and water leak areas over the winter. And that is it.
Yep, let's get that, we'll get it posted.
Yeah, I'll get it posted tomorrow.
I think that probably is a code red, we can do that.
Yeah, we also hand out flyers. I've already talked to Benderson about Gray Street, because we haven't paved Gray Street in 20 plus years. It's gonna be interesting, so. But we'll get it out. We're only doing half of it this year, and then we're gonna do the other half next year.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Sounds good. I'd like to again note that this was in plans before I became the mayor. Boys Alley is not related to my wife going to TJ Maxx, so. Lieutenant Waldron, what a refreshing difference we have here. Let's do this more often. We don't have to have Grumpy over there.
Oh, is he grumpy here?
No, he's good, he's good. I'm
No,
just
he's-
kidding.
I hope he's not watching right now.
I hope he is. I hope he's not for his team, but yeah.
Chief Welch did not give me any information as far as what to say to the village board today about any department head updates. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have, but he did not give me any information as far as what to speak on. Oh, we've been talking. Yeah, we are getting ready for Music Fest. We're working with the same agencies that we worked with last year. It was done much better than years past. As a police agency, with the assistance of the New York State Police, Orchard Park Police, Cheektowaga had a drone operator who came out to assist as well. We felt for the first time that we could actually handle whatever may come our way, which was a comforting thing for a police agency, for our officers who are there for some of them 12 hours a day or throughout the day. Some of us are there for 16, 17 hours. So it's a long day, and having the assistance of some other police agencies is very helpful. We've got a good relationship with the DPW. They help us out a lot. It's a team effort. And yeah, our plan is set. Mayor, if you'd like to see what we have, I can email that over to you.
Yeah, maybe we'll get together this week.
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. Code Enforcement Officer Cassidy, we'll go with you next.
This one's not working.
Sorry, you talk loud.
That's it. Just a couple of things. We are also preparing for Music Fest. All of the venues that will be involved in that event have their annual fire inspections, so we'll be completing those over the next 2 weeks. And then myself and Rich will be out doing occupancy checks during the evening for those venues as well, to make sure that they're not exceeding their occupancy allowance. We did have a spill event on Friday night. Former trustee Grace Vijay had sent me a message about the property at 635 Main Street, that some petroleum product was being dumped over their parking lot, and it was making its way to the drains. I didn't get that text at 6 o'clock. I didn't get it until almost 9 o'clock, and so when I went over there, they were all gone. But the liquid was still there, and it was still in the drains. I contacted DEC, and they couldn't get out that night, so I called dispatch, and the fire department came over, tracked down where those products were in the drain system, and then Brian Halt and the fire department dispatched some absorbent sock into those drains to capture what the rest of it that we could. So that was a couple of hours of work that they did, but they were awesome, and it was great seeing them in action for nothing that was of emergency, but they were, it was great. And yeah, so that might be an issue for TNT going forward. DEC was out on Saturday morning, and she did replace all of the material that the fire department used. So they did make the fire department whole in respect to that. That's all I have for today.
Great, thanks. Any update from the HPC? We have our chairperson here.
This coming week, our next meeting, we will have the first of our revised demolition ordinance, substantial renovation requests, applications to go over. And it may take us a little time to get into the swing of going through these. I understand we have quite a backlog. I was very interested to hear about the pursuing of grants. There are 2 grant opportunities right now, one through the Preservation League of New York, has a grant opportunity that I have spoken with the Roycroft about for preservation planning, but it must also have an arts component with the grant. So that is something I'll also be speaking with Chabot tomorrow to try to figure out. This is a new grant, to figure out what the parameters of this are. And then also coming in the fall, there is the yearly CLG grant, Certified Local Government Grant. We have not applied for one of these since 2014. These can be up to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. And they can be used for all sorts of historic preservation planning things. So perhaps this is something that would also be involved in comprehensive plan discussions.
Yep. And I did send over the document on the comprehensive plan for your review. Regarding the grants, I don't know if we have that in our table that our grant writer has been developing. That's something that we'll be presenting to the board maybe next meeting. I don't remember seeing those, but I haven't looked through it 100%, but that would be good if you can send that over. We'll get that into the table because we did hire a grant writer and have those, and she's quite good. We work with her in the town, so we'll get that on the list and then we, make the priorities. And
What was it called again? Right here.
Okay, there, one is called, is from the Preservation League of New York.
Okay.
And it is a yearly grant. It is usually used to fund things like the research that is done for a National Register nomination, or
We have it in here, just to let you know.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, she's got it in here. Submission is by late August, but it is on the radar for grant opportunity.
right, yeah, and the CLG, the window for that last year, usually there is a 3-month window. Last year it was a 1-month window. So you needed to be prepared to submit.
Okay.
Community, what was that, community?
No, CLG is Certified Local
Oh,
Government
yeah.
Grant.
Certified local government, so I don't know if we've got that one. But good that we have the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, with that, we do have 2 personnel issues to talk about tonight. One of which will need Lieutenant Waldron to remain, right, or no? No, I guess we're okay.
Hold on, can we talk about Scooter on June real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped ahead.
I've been
I did not
seriously
give you,
on this.
my God, here I am.
Luke,
Getting
it's
ahead of
27 minutes and a
I'm so excited
PowerPoint.
for what we have
just
to talk
jump
about in
right
executive
over it.
session. I can't hold it. Oh, I am so sorry. We are going to wait for Scooter on June until we get, but I will start with Trustee Cameron so that it's not too long of a wait. So updates from the board members, trustees, anything from you?
Nothing exciting for me. Thank you for reminding me where those bylaws were. I had read the email. It's been a long week.
Yeah. Yes, I think you can realize that I have been down for a bit, so
Yeah.
I was working on documents.
Yeah, the quantity of emails has been, really.
But no, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Deputy Mayor Root?
I can talk about Scooter on June now? Okay.
You talk about whatever you'd like.
Ben Garvey and I have been working with Victoria on Scooter on June. Scooter on June started today. We really want to get more of a presence from the businesses. And so the way we've developed it is individuals can go on and log their miles of whether they're walking, scooting, biking, just not driving to where they're going, and they can keep track of it themselves. We took a different angle with the businesses, and we try to make it as easy as possible. So we have a letter that I have walked to businesses today. I dropped it off. They just need to email Ben. Ben will drop off a poster for them for their window that basically says, if you scooted or biked or walked here, scan this QR code. And then the QR code takes them to that business's page. They write down their name, and I think it's their name and the date, so they don't go more than once. And then at the end of the month, we're going to do a raffle, and they're going to get a gift from that specific business. So we're hoping that residents will go to multiple businesses that are participating. They'll get there via foot. It's all honor system, but just to make more of a presence.
Yep, and some background, I think. The Scooter on June was a Town of Aurora initiative that we had done with the Climate Smart Community Task Force, where we encouraged residents to replace vehicle miles with non-vehicle miles, so scooting, bike, pedestrian, or whatever it may be. It's gone on for a couple of years. If you go to cleangreenaurora.com, you can see the results of how many miles we were able to sort of save, reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And Deputy Mayor Root has been working with Ben Garvey, who is a new council member with the town of Aurora. And the task force, I know, is actively working on this as well, including someone who knows someone here in the audience. But so I think it's going to be great.
I hope so.
I encourage everyone to sign up. All right. Next up, we've got, who wants it? Trustee Bojanowski, come this way, yep.
So next week, I have my first Erie County Sewer District 8 meeting. Excited for that. And then I was also at the Deer meeting. Ryan was there too, and I'm going to let him talk about it so that he has something to report on.
Oh, is that so? I already had, how do you know I didn't have something to report on? Now I have 3 things to report.
Oh, okay, good.
The Deer meeting was a very interesting meeting, though. We met with the DEC, just talked about some of the initiatives we've tried already. The extra tags that we allowed for does last year, for doe hunting, were not as successful as we'd hoped. There was some benefit, but I think it did not meaningfully decrease the deer population on its own. We talked about a number of opportunities for us. DEC is leaning in to be able to help us get state support for whatever we want to do. Part of that will be demonstrating all of the measures we've tried to take. It will be working with the police department to track deer versus car that we've had in town. It's also talking about more village feedback on what a nuisance the deer have become. And several communities around here in our general conservation areas have been designated as nuisance areas for deer. We are certainly in the same criteria. And the Garden Club was very happy to hear that they are being treated as a nuisance. And that will then open up other opportunities for us as well. This will obviously largely, especially anything that happens to do with eliminating the deer, will be largely a town activity. But of course, they're a village nuisance. We want to make sure that we were coordinating, that we could try to find places that are on the cusp of the village that would allow us to try to take care of the problem more holistically. But really good conversation. We're going to sort of formalize that committee with Garden Club, town, village, and DEC support. And we also had the police force there as well, so that we have sort of an all-rounded, holistic approach to trying to do this. Additionally, I reached out to Liz after that meeting to find out about what code initiatives other communities have around us in terms of deer feeding. We actually don't have anything on our books for that. And Liz was going to do some research on some examples around the community. This is, appropriate heights of bird feeders, literally not feeding deer. We have some reports of neighbors who like to feed apples to the deer who come by, which I was somewhat shocked to hear, but that is happening. So we could talk about what other communities have done for that. But again, it's sort of a Swiss cheese, all-rounded approach to, we can't just shoot all of them and we can't just ask them to go away. What are some things we can do to try to get all of those? Bike board is continuing to meet. They are starting to revise and bring back into, I don't want to call it compliance, but bring back into the initial mission statement involved having a representative from West Falls and a member of the town and what have you. We're narrowing that scope to focus on the village more precisely. So they're continuing to work through what that looks like. They're meeting again next week. And then the third one I wanted to bring up, this is more of a longer term thing, but there is a time-bound aspect to this. Forgive my ignorance, I only realized this last week or so. When the board, and Kristen, I think you were the only member who was on in 21, when the board decided to lengthen terms for the Board of Trustees, it was too late to do the one this was February of 21, it was too late to do that election, so that one stayed a 2-year term, the next one became a 4-year term, which means we now have an election again next year.
Correct.
And then we won't have one for 3 years. New York State has passed an even year election law. It does not apply to villages, so we're not bound by that law. But I do think that's worth considering for us, as many communities are moving in that direction to even year elections. We have an opportunity to talk about this upcoming election and see if we'd like to. There was even some comment at the next meeting after that, when I went back to look at the minutes, that was 4 years the right term length? Should we go back to 2? Should we have some discussion? So I think it's an opportunity for us as we enter the new fiscal year to decide well in advance of the next election, do we want to try to get on an even year schedule? Do we like the 4-year term length? I think it's something, I wanted to float it here in this report so that we can think about it and potentially put it on the agenda next time around. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the 4 years was a good move by the board, you know, but with 2 year, by the time you're done, you don't even know what's going on.
Every time I went around to go for petitions again, it had to be solidly 50% of the people would open the door and go, "Didn't I just sign for you?"
Yes.
Like, yeah, please come vote again. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I think 4 years is great. I don't love personally a 3-year gap in elections
No.
where we
Right,
don't hear from. That's the impetus, is that we'll go from now 27 to 30
Right.
without having an election. And I think that's
Yeah.
something we should talk about.
No, totally agree with that. I think there's going to have to be a staggered term in there someplace so that we get on an every other year schedule. That definitely makes sense.
Yeah, there's a
I
couple.
don't think the even year thing matters so much just because we're in March. Like the November even year makes sense because that gets everybody on like the major election cycles. But because our elections are in March, you don't have people already going to the polls for something else.
Oh, sure.
Right, but
as
the every other, yeah, I agree.
Correct. We're already on, this term is already 4 years.
Right.
That was elected in an even year. So I think
Right.
we are kind of hemmed in on even years.
Yeah.
It'd be tough for us to, but yes, correct. It's just that gap of 3 years without hearing from the village that
Right.
I'd like to close.
Agreed.
Yeah, can we move it to like May or something to it?
I think we can do June. We can do June.
Well, no, I don't know if we want to mention it, but it's just tough. getting
Yeah,
out,
no,
getting
New York
signatures in
Village Law
January.
allows April or June elections.
Yeah,
So that's another thing to consider. I mean, it was a very quick turnaround from elections, or sorry, March or June elections. It was a very quick turnaround for that organizational meeting in April to then pass a budget, but then a new administration that is passing a budget that wasn't prepared by them. It's another thing we can consider if we want to move to a June election. And then again, close that gap in between the sort of offset elections.
Yeah.
Although then you're going to have people preparing a budget who aren't on the board anymore.
right. Well,
Like they'll prepare the budget will go into effect in June, somebody else will get elected.
unless that changes the budget year, well, that change could, change that.
No, budget.
No, budget year has to be June 1, but you can have elections after that. Again, so this is great. It sounds like we should discuss this. We'll put it on the agenda next time. And I wanted to give everybody a chance to sort of chew on it and come up with ideas. But I think that's certainly worth considering too. Campaigning in the cold is a lot less fun in February than it would be in May. Many more opportunities to go knock on doors and talk to neighbors. And again, I think pros and cons of separating the reorganization meeting from the budget vote, because yes, you could have lame ducks, but also you have a little more time to chew on what's going to happen prior to the June 1 fiscal year.
All right, trustee Raby?
Nothing to report. Thank you.
I should have said when it was my turn, Happy New Year, Maureen.
Thank you.
I did forget our clerk treasurer, and I am very apologetic for that. I'm looking out into the audience and forget that you're over here writing away, so we have a few things happening in the office. I
We have a
picked
ton
up on.
happening in office, but the big one is Happy New Year. We started our new fiscal year, and unfortunately, the blue tax bills have come out, so please pay your taxes. Come visit us, bring your dogs. We like company.
Anything else?
I have more going on, but that's what I'm reporting today.
Yep. You have a blue notepad.
I have purple notepads and red ones and pink ones and orange ones that match all the departments.
Okay. All right, with that, we have 2 personnel issues that we need to discuss. There will be action on one of them after the meeting. So if I get a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Camp?
Camp.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Bojanowski, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we will enter executive session. Thank you, everyone, for coming.